Hello, my babies. I was just thinking I spend all day talking to myself, and by the end of the day, what I do is I record videos where I talk to myself. All right, so today's video is ask questions to and of yourself, not of the world externally visible to you. It was a conversation I had almost a year ago, actually. I, the reason I say almost a year ago is because it's been a year since my friend was in Lebanon, and I linked up with her like last week, and we hung out and we kind of like just chilled for a bit. The idea is simple. Why would I want to understand? If you look at a tree, you can understand a lot about how the tree works, but you can't understand why it works that way. The truth behind it is the more we research, science is basically experimentation until we get something that's theoretically enough true enough, and eventually like we find a way to prove it. I assume when people were testing if trees actually produce oxygen, they kind of isolated a tree in an environment and measured basically the atmosphere until they realized that less carbon was existing and more oxygen was existing. And I'm sure they kind of associated the growth of the tree with the carbon emitted as well, because like trees need carbon to grow. So I could understand a lot about how the tree works. Maybe its anatomy, maybe its structures, maybe how the chemicals within it kind of like compound. But I can't really understand why it works that way. See, there are questions that are relevant only because you make them relevant. Millions of people around the world would probably know things that I don't. And it's not because it didn't come across me. It's just basically, I'm not interested. I'm not sure. So when you're asking questions, going back to my friend, she was talking about, she was trying to connect consciousness that she herself was experiencing and her own consciousness to an understanding of the outside world. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I quoted Miyamoto Musashi. Think deeply with the world and simply of yourself. And that's a weight. Put more weight onto the world and less weight on yourself when it comes to your thoughts. But the reason I said that is mainly because you are figure outable. And when I say you, I'm not saying your body, dude. Your body exists in the outside realm and the world, in the tangible physical realm or something like this. What I'm talking about is every word that passes through your brain, every picture, every image could have as much detail as you could actually like give it time to explore. If I imagine a lion right now, I'd imagine a big fluffy hairy cat roaring. But if I talk to a wildlife photographer, their image is completely different because they spent days following the lions and like looking at them and taking pictures of them and understanding them and all of that. So when you're asking questions, it is good to be curious when it comes to the world because ultimately you're exploring. You are the explorer that's going through life and coming to understand it. But it's not the world that is on the outside, but how you're seeing that world, why you're seeing it the way you're seeing it, is ultimately where you should ask the question. Because it's ask here, ask a question to and of yourself. not of the world externally visible, but of how you are internalizing. Because that's where you actually live. That's where you exist. You exist in your head in connection to everything that you're actually seeing. I don't think human beings have depth to them. I see what we have is layering. Effectively, as we grow in life, we haven't learned, more adopted. We adopted the different views based on language, based on painting, drawing, design, everything that basically we interact with. We have adopted the different views. And that added layers of simplification. So when we're asking questions, what we're normally doing is we're missing that we're the ones interpreting whatever it is that we're trying to answer. We're the original interpreters. And most of the time, it's not something that's coming from us, man. It's something that's coming from somebody you trusted as a kid, coming from a teacher, from a parent, from an environment of joy or anger or sadness. All of these are the layers that we add to ourselves. And I doubt they confuse us because we're never truly confused when we actually take a moment to kind of like, instead of looking at something for like a second, looking at it for like a minute. Instead of look at a tree for like a minute and you literally find your eyes just wandering across branches, trying to count them maybe, trying to figure out how many leaves on average per tree. Maybe that's my fucking trip, right? Everyone else has a different trip. I have a friend of mine, literally, when he's looking at the plants, he could actually see, and it's probably because of when you focus, but he promises me that what he sees is basically the aura of every leaf. Because suddenly every leaf is kind of like there in your face, coming out. And the blurriness of everything behind it kind of creates that aura or allows you to see the true aura that blurs things, that makes things blurry behind it. There's a certain beauty and reflection of how you actually are answering the questions that normally come out of you. Because why you are the way you are is the source of who you are. And I think that's where the world actually gains some depth. Because ultimately, you're no longer part of the world, but you're the entity exploring the world, or the world is being explored through you. I think the base is the experience that you're having with the question that you're trying to ask. Why would a question be relevant? Why would I ask a question about, again, anything, if I'm not trying to understand its relevance to me? Why would I want to understand something? Because, like, again, like you can start a conversation with somebody, and if they're not interested, it has no relevance to them. And they will basically, like, it doesn't matter what you talk about. They're going to be like, yeah, it's all right. Simple, straight to the point, easy. Kind of feeling emotional. And it's funny, I want you guys to remember, or at the very least, I really want to, like, push the button on something. Just because I think this way doesn't necessarily mean I remember how to apply it. It is in these moments where I feel completely exposed, looking at something that I wrote a while ago, trying my best to make some sense out of it, when I discover exactly who I am. And I get to explore a bit more of how I am interacting with the world through who I was. I don't know, man. As always, thank you for fucking listening. And I genuinely love you guys. Have a good night, man. It's a video.